So let's begin the class. Um, so today we are going to look at introduction to data with Excel. And then there's a saying here, it says that there's no analysis without data, and there's no business value without data analysis. Obviously, that's correct. Before you analyze, there has to be something that you analyze with. And if there's no analysis, you are just running blind. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing, so you will struggle to create value. So let's just go into data sources. So yeah, it says data sources and access. Now, where to source your data? So there are different ways we can get the data that we use for analysis. There are some places that they will tell you there are three sources of data. There's the first class source, the second class, and then the third class source. So yeah, it says that we have company data, which is data that a company collects and stores in the storage location with limited access. So usually this is classified as first class data, the data from the company itself, probably the sales data, the financial transactions, the customer data collected by the company. Then the data analyst takes this data and then works on it. Then there is also open source data, which are public records by government and non-government organizations. Example, medical data, census data, weather data. So in terms of the first class, the second class, and the third class data, for second class data is also from an external source. Remember, first class data is from the company. Now for second class data, it is from an external source, but it relates directly to the company. Let's say from the company's social media accounts, for example, it is not generated by the company, but it is still directly related to the company. So something like that is classified as a second class data. Then for third class data is the data you collect from outside sources, maybe government organizations, maybe open source data that you can collect anywhere, like some of the data that we see on Kaggle, on data.gov, they are all third class data and they are open source data. Open source means you can actually get them free of charge. Yeah, anyway. So let's move on. Where to source your data? Okay, exactly. This is what we're talking about. Yeah, it says first-hand data that you collect directly from the source through primary research. So how do you collect first-hand data? You can interview somebody. I'm sure we have all seen Google Forms. There are also ways that you can collect first-hand data. Yeah, and or let's just say you interview somebody one-on-one and then you record, or you ask them to fill a form. It's still an interview. Then there's also simulations, and then there's surveys that you can carry out, yeah, to get your first-hand data. Then you can also collect data from others. Yeah, it's a second-hand data that you collect from other people or platform. That is secondary research. So you can collect data from technical journals, you can collect data from public records, you can collect data from government publications, you can collect data that is just anywhere, as long as that data is sufficient for what you need, you can actually get it. So that is an example, or those are examples of second-hand data. We are now moving into getting data into the Excel spreadsheet. So let's say you want to conduct an analysis. The first thing is to load your data into Excel. So what are the ways that we can get our data into Excel so that we can clean the data, we can explore, we can do anything that we want to do with the data? The first thing is manual typing. So now I can move to Excel now. Yeah, so it says the first step, okay, this is the data set that we'll be using. Let me try to get something else, or let me just open a fresh Excel sheet. Excel. Yeah, okay. So one of the first ways we can get our data is through typing. So let's say as the data is coming or I'm typing from something, you can just type out your data, the rows and the columns. So if you can type 100 rows of data, go ahead, type it. So that's one of the ways. Usually when you are manually typing, you know that you are not using so much data, because it's obviously gets more difficult if you are typing, probably you're typing 20 columns and you're typing 1,000 rows. It's not feasible. So manual typing is usually for very small data and things that probably you cannot get through a form, or you don't have any option but to type it. So that's manual typing. Now the next thing is getting data from sources. It is just as we've explained. You can download the data set and try to import the data set into Excel. So that's also another way to get your data into Excel. And then the third one is open an existing Excel file. So let's say you were working on something before, or you just downloaded something to your laptop or to your desktop. You can just open the file. If it is an Excel file, if it is an XLSX file or an XLSB file, yeah, you can open directly from Microsoft. You can open directly with Microsoft Excel, which is what I did here. So this is the data that we're working on. I downloaded the data. It was in my desktop, and then I clicked on it, and then here it is. It has opened in Excel. So this is the data that we'll be working on. So let's continue. Working with your data. So when you get the data now, what do you do? How do you perform operations with the data? Where do you start from? So today we are going to, like I said, it's just an introductory class. So today we are going to look at font style and alignment. We'll also look at ways to format the worksheets. And then we'll look at performing calculation with formulas and functions. We'll just look at basic formulas, simple functions that we can perform with Excel. So the first thing is the font size and alignment. So usually this is the default font for Excel. This is the default font for Excel. Now there are people that they may want to change the font, although I don't think that's important. That's not what you want to do. So there are people that may want to change the font. Now, how do you change the font? I'm trying to take this. I'm trying to take this guy up so that we can all see. Sorry. Sorry, does anybody know how I can take this guy out? The Zoom menu. Hello, can you guys hear me? Okay, I think it's good now. So let's we are looking at changing the font. So it is usually I like to select my data first. You can select directly with this button here, the one between 1 and A. First, okay, let me start with what A means, what 1 means. So A to Z, even more than Z, they are the column letters. So columns are designated letters. So you have column A, column B, column C, and then rows are designated in numbers. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So a cell is actually a combination between a column and a row. So how do you designate a cell? The cell is designated with the column letter and the row number. So here I have B5 because it is column B and row 5. If I have something like this, that's E10. You can see it is written here to tell you the particular cell So how do I, let's say I want to change the font. Now, usually you can just click here and then you can change the fonts. Once you click here, everything is selected. But usually I like to, because I want my formatting to just be for only the place I'm working with. Let's imagine I want to change the colors. If I click here now, let me just show you. If I click here, I'm going to pin this, and then I change the color of the lettering, for example. Okay, let me change the color of the cell. You can see everything changes, but I don't want that. I want my changes to only affect the cells that I'm working with. So what do? I come here, I click on cell A1, then I have my, I hold my control button and my shift button. If I hold my control button and my shift button and I press my right arrow key, it will select up to the last column that there is a value. Then I can now press the down button. I'm still holding my control and my shift. And then I press the down button. It will select up to the last row. Now with this, I can now modify just this area. I don't want my modification to go elsewhere. I just want to work with this area. Now, if I want to change my font, since I've selected everything, I'll just come here. I can change to any fonts I want to. There are a lot of fonts here that you can change to. I can also change the font size to anything I want to change to. But let's leave it as it is. Then alignment. How do you align your worksheet? Now, usually we get data. Let's assume, let's just say, let me move this T here. Sometimes you may get the data that the values inside, they are large. I mean, they are long, and it does not enter every part of the cell, because usually when you first open Excel, the length or the size of the cell, it's uniform. It's uniform. But sometimes the values in a particular column can be more than what the space that you have in the cell. So how do you align it? Now, let's say I have my cell D like this, and then I want to align it such that I can see everything in that particular cell. I'll come here, I'll click on the column D, and then when I hover my mouse, usually when you hover your mouse, look at the button that you see. Now, if you come close to the end, you will see an arrow. You see an arrow across with the horizontal part of the cross, as it has arrow facing the left and the right. Now, I can try to drag it. If I try to drag it, I have tried to increase the column. So that's one way to do it. Then if I don't want to drag it, I can simply double click. If I double click, it will go directly to what you want. It will not be too much. If you drag, you can drag it too much. But if you double click, it will be directly what you want. So that's one way to align. Now, if you want to align multiple cells, or multiple columns rather, let's say I have D like this, and then I have G like this, and then I want to align everything at the same time. I'll just come here, I'll select all, and then I go to any of the columns, spaces between any of the columns, and then I double click. Now, when I double click, everything automatically aligns. So that's one way to align. You don't have to start dragging them one after the other. You just select all, and then you double click between any two columns. So the next thing, formatting worksheets. So how do you format worksheets? Now, usually, just before I talk about formatting, usually when you try to do a data analysis problem, I first I try to tell people, know what you want to do first. You should not just go about, oh, I want to make it beautiful or something. Try to understand it is not the beauty that is important, it is actually getting what you want. So try to know what you want to do. Try to get questions that you want to answer. So if I have this data, there should be questions I need to answer on the data. I should not try to, oh, I want it to be fine or something. So let's talk about formatting. Now, to format, you can format different things. You can change colors, like I talked about fonts. You can change fonts. You can also carry out conditional formatting. Let's say you want to format up to a particular value. So let me select everything here. Now I've selected all my data. And then I can come here now and I want to try to format. I can try to format the text, the cell style. Let's say the headings, I can try to change them. Okay, you can see it is changing. I can come here, try to change the colors, try to change anything I want to change. I can also format as table, depending on the type of table you want. You can come here, you can come here. Now, if I click on, let's say I click on this now. Okay. Sorry. Now I come in and then I want to try to format as a table. Let's say I want my table to be like this. And then I click. It gives you the range that you want. It is the range I have selected. That's the automatic range. And then here it says that my table has headers. So you have to tell Excel that, okay, that row 1 is actually header. It is not part of the value, so that they format it differently. So if I can, now it is ticked. So I can now click OK. Now if I click OK, you can see now that it has changed. Now it now looks even better. You know that, okay, the first row is your header row, and then the rest are the values. So you can see, so there are different formatting options. You can also try to format conditionally. Let me come here and then let me try to do conditional formatting. And let's say I want to format with, when you do conditional formatting, you are formatting according to a rule. Let's say I want to format values that are bigger than something. Yeah, there are different options. I don't want to go into that because I'm trying to look at the time. We still have functions to look at. So this is just the idea. If you want to try to, let's say you want to know just, okay, the sales that are much and you want them to show in green, you can just come here and then you can create a new rule that you want. Once you come here now, you can click, okay, format cells based on their values, and then, okay, the lowest value or for a particular value or less than this, greater than this. There are different options. Once you just come here, you can just read through, and then whatever you want to do, you'll have it. So let's go to performing calculations with formulas and functions. Now, this is very, very important, especially knowing the particular function to use. Because when you want to work on the data, it is these functions that will guide you. If you know, okay, this is the sum function, there are times when you may need to, okay, we sum two things, or you want to look for product of two things. You have to know that this is the function that we are going to use. I was solving an SQL problem one time, and then they asked me to do something. And then I started doing, I tried to do a CT, a subquery. And then when I saw the example, it was just a simple case function. It is not like I did not know case function, but it did not come to me that, oh, with that case function, you can just solve it. So I went all the way doing CT and subqueries, and I was just laughing at myself. It is the same thing with Excel. You have to know particular functions. When you know these functions, it will be easier for you to know what you want to do. So first, let's look at simple things. Let's try to do our simple addition. Let me call this addition. So let's say I want to do a simple addition and I want to add the sales and the quantity. Now you can do your aggregation, the sum, the count, the average, and all of that. You can do the aggregation. You can either horizontally or vertically. Now let's say I want to do an horizontal addition. and I want to add this value, 22,010. So I'll just come here. Obviously, for me to do the addition, I must know the addition function. Now, the addition function is sum. Now, when you want to write any function, the first thing you have to do is to put an equality sign. Now, that equality sign tells Excel that, okay, this person is trying to perform a calculation. Now, if I come here and I write sum, you can see it already gives me sum. Then you put it in brackets. Now, what do you want to sum? You can sum two values, or you can try to sum a range of values. If you are summing two values, let's say I am summing this, and let's say I put comma. If you are summing two values, you can just put comma, and then you're summing this. So Excel knows that, okay, I am summing this guy and then this guy, and then you press enter. Now you can see it sums these two values. Then it also helps me because it understands that, oh, I may want to do the sum all around. I may want to sum everything. So it goes to the third row, it does the summation. It goes to the fourth row, it does the summation like that. Now, how do I do the vertical summation? Now, let me come here. Let's say I want to get the sum of all the quantities. I again equal to sum. I put my brackets. Then I can just select the particular row, or I can just select this place and then Control Shift, and then I drag down. So that's also one way to select your data. You select the particular cell, and then you Control Shift, and then you drag down. So it shows that, okay, you are trying to sum that particular row, or that particular column rather, and then I click enter. So I can see that I now have the total of everything. So this is like the total quantity. So that's one of the functions. But the function I'm more interested in for this particular data set is actually, okay, we have our sales, we have our cost. There is a way to get our expenses. So we can get our expenses through sales minus costs. So, oh, sorry, our profits rather, sorry, our profits. Sales minus cost. So I can have something, let me just put profits. Now, how do you get profits? You do sales minus cost. Now, when you want to do your subtraction, just come here, equal to, you come here, you select your sales, put your negative sign, then you select your cost, and then you click enter. So this way now, you can now see that, okay, these are the profits because you have done sales minus cost. And if you look at the table properly, you will see that there are some negative values. It means that we didn't make profits in everything that we sold. There are some things that we actually sold below the cost price. So things like this, depending on what you want to do. There is also the average function. Let's say we want to get the average quantity that is sold. So you come here, let me just do it here. You come here, okay, let me put average, quantity. Okay. Now, if I want to get the average, there is also the average function. I come here, A, B. Once you're pressing it, Excel will automatically show you, okay, is this the function that you want to do, that you want to use? Is it this one? So this is the average function. You know that, okay, you have to spell average. For SQL, it is just AVG. So Excel, we have to spell out the average. And then you put a bracket. When you put a bracket, you can see how many numbers do you want for your argument. If you want a particular column, you just select the entire column. If you want a particular range, let's say you want, I can say I want this guy, this guy, this guy. You can see that Excel is automatically putting the commands for me. So if I want to get average of 5 values, I'll just put the first value, comma, the second value, comma, the third value. That's one way to do it. I can also decide that I want to do something like this. Let me drag this down. I want to select a range of values. So Excel has selected H2 to H14. That's one way to get the average. Then if I want to get everything in the column, I know I'm just selecting everything in the column. So let me click on this and then I drag down. And then I press my equal to, and then you have your average quantity. So the average is another function. There's also the median function. Now the median function, this is statistics. It's just it arranges everything. It arranges everything in order and then gives you the middle number. Now it's also equal to median. You can see equal to median, and then you put your bracket, whatever row you're looking for the median, and then enter, and then it gives you the median. The mode is also another function. There are different functions. Now, let's say I want to round this value. I can also use the round function. There's also the ceiling function and the floor function, but let's leave that for now. So I can use the round function by just saying, okay, round equal to round. I'm sorry, I didn't include the argument. Equal to round, then I have my brackets, and then I want to round this guy. So the way the round function works, you put the number, comma, the number of decimal places that you want. If you don't indicate any number of decimal place, Excel automatically gives you 0 decimal place. So if I want 0 decimal place, I don't need to put comma 0. I'll just click enter. Oh, okay, it says that, okay, I must give the decimal place. Okay, let me put comma. Okay, I have, I'm rounding this guy, comma, 0. So you can see now it has now rounded to 0. Now, if I want to round to something else, I can just, from here, instead of 0, now let's say I want 3 decimal place. I put comma 3, and then I come here. So somebody is writing on my screen. So this is just like an overview of some of the functions that you will need in Excel. It is important to know the aggregation functions, the sum, the average, the mean, the median. There is also the count. If you want to count everything, let's say I want to know how many values are in this row, or in this column rather, I can just use my count function. That's equal to count, brackets, and then I select everything, and then I press enter. So it tells me that there are 50 values in the column. So you can see here, this is 51. Remember, the other is 1. So there are actually 50 values. So these are functions that you can use in Excel. Again, it depends on what you want to do. Now, these functions are important when you want to try to clean data usually. When you want to clean data, there are things that you have to look out for. Is your data accurate? There's also the trim function for categorical variables. When I mean categorical variables, I mean that the variables that, let's say, region now, if I'm trying to get something per region, the region is a category that I am aggregating by. This is a categorical variable. Then this is, what's it called again? It's a numerical variable. Then there's something that is called, I cannot remember now. So you can also check to make sure that your categorical variables are set. Now, it is important when you want to work on data, first, try to examine the data. Usually, if I'm working on this data, the first thing I'll do, after setting up a table like this, I'll come here. These are the filter down, the down filter buttons. I'll just come here and then try to make sure that all my values, they make sense. To make sure that, okay, there are no blanks. I'll come here and then I check everything. I'll just scroll through and then check everything. You come here, you can see that, okay, this is February, January, March. So you are working with 3 months. Now, you may, I may come here. Let me do something. Let me do this. Now, if I have a large data set, I will not be able to go down one after the other to check the values if the spellings are correct. So that is why you have to come here. Now, normally, if I am trying to plot a graph now, let's say I'm trying to get something per month, and I have this data set, I'm expecting just 3 months, January, February, and March. Now, but when I come here, I'm seeing something else. I'm seeing February, and then I'm seeing another one with a different spelling. That is to tell you that, oh, someone has made the mistake. You have to correct that mistake. So what do? I know that, okay, this is supposed to be entered as February, but it is entered wrongly. So I'll just come here, I'll deselect all, and then I'll just select that particular value. Okay, then I can now go and change it so that when I am trying to plot my graph, I will not have January, February, and then February with a funny spelling. So that everything, this will follow. Okay, I will now write February now. I will now spell it correctly. P-R-A. So I can now go back and then I select all. So you can see now that there's just one February here. So I can now select all and then okay. So that is the way I will do for everything. To check out all my data, I'll check the product to make sure that there are no incorrect spellings, to make sure that everything is fine. If anything is off, sometimes it may just be one punctuation mark. Let's say somebody added a full stop to something, or added a comma to something, or just added an extra space to something. Just try to look at everything. If it is an extra space, you just know that, okay, you have to trim everything there using the trim function. Let me come here and then trim. Then my brackets, I want to trim everything here. Oh, okay, I'm selecting this guy. I'm trimming this. Then I can now drag down. I can try to drag down, or I can double click. If you double click, it will also go down. I don't know why it isn't. Normally, when you double click, it is supposed to go down. Yeah, but let me drag down. Let me not waste time. So you can see now that everything has been dragged down. Now, what it has done is it has removed extra spaces. So when you monitor your data, when you go through your data, you will, usually there are errors. It is a rare case that you see a data that is without errors. So usually there are errors in the data set. So this is what you do. Use these functions to try to correct those errors. So that's it for performing calculations with formulas and functions. It's 5 minutes to 8:45. So I'll be stopping the class here. So this is, we've come to the end of the class, so that people can ask questions with the time that is left. So let me just go to the chat. Yeah, profit function is sales minus cost. Yeah, that was a mistake. Okay, yeah, I think I repeated it, the profit function. Okay, so there are no questions in the comments in the chat box. Yeah, I already answered the profit question. That was a silly mistake. So does anybody have any questions so that I can answer? Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Doing. So please, you can unmute yourself. Let's unmute ourselves one after the other. If you have questions, clarification, or you want to add to this class. Okay.
Okay.
Someone.
I didn't actually. I was the one who asked for the profit function. Can you please enter the function again on Excel? I want to clarify that, please.
Which function?
The profit function. I missed that.
Okay. Profit is actually subtraction, sales minus cost. So let me just come here. So you can see the formula box. Yeah, it is actually the sales column minus the cost column. So that is how I got the profit. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So,
Okay, someone asked that how do we get use the get data source from Excel?
how do you
Use the get data source from Excel.
okay?
So
Does
you
anybody
either
want
go
to
to the file, yeah. So you
yeah,
either go to
continue.
the file or ID, kindly let me go to data.
Yeah.
So when you click on that data, right, you can see get data here, and there are different options you can get through from files. That is either PDF. You can also get data from PDF documents, and it will be converted to this thing. Then you can get it from Excel, existing Excel workbook, then CSV6 file, XML, JSON folder, and SharePoint. Also from database, you can also get your
SQL.
data into Excel sheet from Access, from Analysis, SQL Server, Oracle database, IBM, MySQL database, PostgreSQL, and all. You can also get it from Azure, depending on the data that you have and where your data is stored, right? Most cases where you're extracting data from online servers like cloud, other data storage management, database management, you don't need to download them first on your computer, especially when they are sensitive data, right? That is hosted by an organization or by an NGO like United Nations. There are some of their data site that you can't download their data from their website. You need to go to that storage cloud storage, sorry, and you need to get access. So as such, when you want to pull in data into Excel from all these service, Excel actually give us that privilege. When you go to your data set, get data, you will see different files, different formats where you can actually import your data from and work on it, right? So that is the best way to get your data from Excel. You can get it from existing Excel worksheet on your desktop. You can also get it from existing worksheets from Google Sheets, from MySQL, from storage, from Azure, from any other site. You have about Excel have about close to 140 sites or sources that you can get data from without any issues.
Thank you, Nelson.
Yeah.
Is there any other question? Okay, I think I'm seeing one. So it says again, how did you change the duplicate February? First, it is not a duplicate. What you saw was not a duplicate. It was actually a misspelling. The data set is actually clean. I just changed the spelling of that particular value to explain that, okay, you can actually get something like this. So let me do it again. Let me take out this view. Now, if I'm going through my data and then I have just changed the spelling of one of the cells at random. I don't even know which one again. So when I come here, and then I'm seeing every value that is here, every distinct value, every unique value. Now I'm seeing February, I'm seeing 2, but one is clearly wrongly spelled. Not I'm seeing January, I'm seeing March. So originally I'm supposed to see just 3 months. Now, since I'm seeing one of them that is misspelled, it means that there is an error that needs to be addressed. So how do I address that error? I cannot start looking for everything now. Okay, I'll look and then start checking which of them is spelled correctly or which of them is spelled wrong. I'll just come here and then I will deselect all by clicking the select all button so that it does not select anything again. And then that particular cell or that particular range of cells, depending on what it is, it may be just one value. It may be a lot of values that you want to actually change. In that case, you can use your replace function. So if I come here now and I click this and then I press OK, it will show me only the row that has that wrong spelling of February. So I'll come here now. I can now try to change it. And then I click enter. So when I am looking at it again, you can see now that everything is now correctly spelled. I can now select all again to see everything I have in my data set. So that's how to change it. I hope I've answered your question, the person that asked.
So I think the last question here said the trim function seems not to be understood by me. Can you just take that again, please? The trim function.
Okay. Now, so let me do something. So now, usually you want to make sure, let me delete this. You want to make sure that everything in your data set is actually aligned. Now, let me come here. Okay. So let me just explain the trim function. Now, what the trim function does is to remove trailing and leading spaces. When I mean trailing spaces, I mean spaces that are after a particular word or sentence, whatever I want to write. I have this south here, but you can see now, if I come here now, I can see that, okay, there is no space. But it may be that the person that put this data set can have several spaces after south. Or the person can have several spaces before the south. Now, look at what I have now. If I come here now, okay, it does not show here, but if I try to check the length, let me try to check the length. Let me use the length function, len, and then I want to look at the length of everything here. Now, this is 24. Okay, before then, sorry, let me just try to filter for just south, so that you understand what I'm trying to say. South. Okay. Now, the length, I have 24. Let me try to drag down to get the length of everything. Now, you can see now that this first one is 24, while the rest is 11. So it means that there is a problem. But when I come here now, I am seeing that it is still south. It is not a different value. It is still south. So it means that there has to be a problem. Now, what problem can it be? It means that there are spaces in that particular cell that is not supposed to be. The space may be before the start of the sentence. The space may be, or the word. The space may be after the start of the word. So what do I do here now? I use my trim function. Now, what the trim function does, it removes the spaces, the leading spaces, that's the ones before the word, and then the trailing spaces, the ones after. So let me try to do it here. If I come here now and then I use my trim, TRIM, and then I come here and then I select this guy, enter. Now what I have done is I have tried to trim everything. So it means that the ones that have leading spaces, I've taken them out. The ones that have trailing spaces, I've taken them out. Now I can now come here again to look for my length. Let me come here to look for my length again. Let me change this. Let me delete this. So now I'm looking for the length of this one. I have clicked on it and then I press enter. You can now see now that it has gone back to 11. It means that there is no problem now. Everything is now 11. It was not before that it is 24. So normally, if I were working on this data set, I'll just come here and then I'll come here, select all, I'll copy, and then I'll come here and then I'll paste, or I can just create a new column. Okay, I already copied. You can come here and then you can paste, or you can create a new column and then you paste it, then you delete. Then you delete the one that is that was there before that is wrong. But you have to be careful with this. Now, if I come here now and then I try to delete this column now, delete. You can see now that this column that I used for my trimming is nowhere to be found. It is because it was dependent on what was happening in that other column. So you have to be careful when you want to delete. Now let me undo. So normally what I'll do, I'll select everything here. I'll copy, and then I'll go to another column. Let me just use this column, and then I will paste. I will not just do my Ctrl V. I will try to paste such that it will not carry the formula along. So I'll just come here and I'll paste values only. Now if I come here and I paste values only, sorry, let me come here. Let me undo. So Control C, and then let me just come here and then I paste the values only. Oh, I copy just one cell. Let me copy everything. Control C, Control V. Don't know why. Let me just. So the idea is after you copy everything, try to paste it somewhere else, just the values only, so that when you delete now, you can see this one now. If I delete this guy now, let me delete the entire column. This, oh, I got both of them from the same column. Okay. So if I copy this now, let me just Control C, and then I come here, I paste values only. Okay. Now, if I delete this one now, you can see now this guy is still standing because I had already pasted just the values without the formula. So I can now carry everything here now. I can carry everything here now. Control C or Control X, and then I paste here. Control V. So I have my south, everything is fine now. So that's the way it works. So you have to be careful when you are trying to delete something from a particular column so that you don't delete the formula, because when you delete it, the formula goes through. So usually just try to copy and then paste in another column the values only. Is there any other question? Anybody?
I think that is all for now.
Okay. So in that case, we have come to the end of the class.